All right, this is the tutorial on the vector arrow assignment. So what we'll start with, we're going to Command N. I'm going to open up a new document, or you can go to File and New Document, or New. We're going to start it off by saving it, or naming it, how we're going to save it. We're going to, your first initial, last name, your section. This we're going to call vector arrow underscore graphic, and the date, September 16. It is a print job, so the profile will be print. There will be 3 artboards. We're going to have them list in a column. We're going to change the points to inches, so now the units are inches. We're going to give the space in between each artboard 2 inches. We are going to say that the artboards are initially 8.5 by 11, which is fine, but the assignment states that they need to be landscape, so we will keep them landscape by pressing on this button. So now the width will be larger than the height. There will be no bleed on this particular assignment, but there will be moving soon, actually. But right now, this is where the bleed will happen. But we'll worry about that for next assignment. The color mode is CMYK, so keep it there. And the raster effects will be 300. We'll keep it there too. Not necessary for this project, but in the future, we will look at that as well. And we'll press OK. The first things we are going to do is make sure our artboard panel is open. We have to change up a few of the dimensions on the artboard as per the assignment. So we're going to double click in this area here. And we're going to click on 14 by 8.5, which is what the assignment calls for. And pray OK. The second artboard is fine. So the third artboard we need to change to a 4 by 4. So we will do the same there. And once again, just by clicking here, we can change any information we want on the artboard. I want to move this up a little bit because there's a big gap here. So that's all I have to do is select the artboard tool. And I can move it up. I could hold down Shift, and it locks it in place for me. And if I press another tool or press Escape, it'll get me back to drawing again. Get me back to the normal area here. So what I'm going to do first, I am going to import or place, file, place, the arrow graphic. So I can go to File, Place, and I can select the graphic. I happen to have it on my desktop where I save it, and I'm going to place it. I'm going to drag it to, or place it on my first artboard, and place it right on top, in the middle, roughly, and that is fine. I'm going to go to my layers palette, and right now I have one layer open. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on this, I'm going to create a new layer. As we can see, the arrow is on the first layer, layer 1. Now I'm going to lock it. So this layer is locked. I can no longer select it. If I want to select it, I have to unlock it. Then I can select it again. But I want it locked. So I can do everything on my top layer, and this will not be touched. So first what I will do to start this drawing, I'm going to zoom in, which is Command plus. To zoom out, Command minus. But I'm going to zoom into Command plus. I'm going to start working on, I say in class was the most difficult arrow, which was this one with these interesting feathers here. To start, we're going to use the pen tool. What I suggest is to hold down, click on it, and this little arrow here, area here, will open up this window for me, and I can see all my pen tool options. I'm going to do the same with my shape. Hold down on the shape panel tool. Click on this arrow here, and it opens them up for me. If I double click, it changes up the orientation, which will be vertical. I'm going to start with the pen tool. And as I close up on the stem, I'm going to start with the stem. This is a little too close. So what I want to do, I want to get a good idea of the stem. So I'm going to start here. It's about 800%. Click once. And then as I click, what happens is an anchor starts and a line forms. I can click anywhere I want. If I hold down Shift, it conforms it to a 90 degree, 0 degree, or 45 degree angle. And this comes in handy with this particular one here. What I'm going to do, because I need to go down the whole stem here, is hold down the space bar which turns my pen tool into a hand tool. The good thing about holding down spacebar and clicking down is that when I let go of spacebar, my pen tool is still activated. What I'll do here is hold down shift, click, hold down shift again, click, and look what happens here. So what happens is that right now we have a fill on, so I cannot see underneath the graphic. So what I need to do is take this fill and click it off, showing the red stripe shows that you do not want the fill on, and I will continue. I'm going to hold down the space bar again. I'm going to click up. I'm going to hold down shift, roughly about the same area as this is, but on this side, I'm going to hold down shift and click. Then what I can do to get closer to that circle there, I can zoom in, hold down my space bar, click on top of the curve, but this time instead of clicking and leaving it alone, I'm going to click and drag, and these control arms show up. What I want to do, I'm going to hold down shift. Once again, holding down shift conforms it to a 0 degree, a 45 degree, or 90 degree angle. I'm going to try and find that curve where that red line is and let go. What I could do from there is find the end of the path, end of the shape, and a little circle shows up right by my pen tool. I'm going to click once. And there I've completed one shape. I've made one solid shape. What I've noted in class is that the stroke is a little bit thick for us to trace properly, trace the edges properly. So I'm going to go to my stroke panel. I'm going to click on the weight. I'm going to change it to 0.125 inches and click enter. Now what happens is my stroke comes a little bit smaller, thinner, and I can see the edges a little bit better of the graphic underneath. And there I have one shape complete. Now to start with the feathers, which are a little bit more complicated, I'm going to click on the pen tool. I'm going to click inside the stem here where this line would start, right about here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to follow up here and just click and drag and try to find this curve here. But what I'm going to do with my control arm is try to follow it along the path as well. Because you'll see in the next point what happens when I click off and click and drag again, which I'm going to do right about here maybe. It's going to help me find that path, which is great. Now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to let go and I'm going to start again. Now what happens here is this line, this curved line, is not really matching up where I want it to be, but that's okay because we can fix that later. I'm going to click at the top here. With curves, the thing you need to realize is the fewer anchor points, the better. It creates a more seamless curve. One without as many anchor points, you won't see as many little corners or edges on the curve. I'm going to click about here. But what I'm going to do, what I should have done on another anchor point is hold down Alt. If I hold down on the keyboard Alt, it allows me control of just one control arm. If I don't hold down Alt, I have both control arms move. I'm going to hold down Alt and bring it down just a little bit. And you'll see why in a second. I'm going to let go. When I want to come back around to the curve, I already have it ready to go like this. If I didn't hold down Alt, the curve would have been way up here. But now I already kind of have it, which I can go back and fix later. So now what I'll do here is I will start again or continue on and find this path here. And when it said I'm going to try and follow this control arm along the curve I'm looking for, which is right about here, and continue on. I'm going to hold down Alt to bring the control arm back just a little bit, find another point here, follow that control arm, bring it around as much as I can to follow along that curve to find that other line, and I'm going to end it right about here. And I'm going to hold down Alt again to bring it back, and I'm going to connect and finish the shape. And I could tell I'm finishing the shape because there's a little circle by my pen tool here, by the icon. Completed the shape. So now I can go back with the direct select tool, the white arrow tool, click on any part of the path, and my anchors will show up again. I could finely tune and give my anchors or the line anywhere I like. Now I notice when I started here, this looks pretty good, this looks pretty good. Over here I'm missing quite a bit of it. So what I need to do, hold down Alt, click on the control arm and move it around to find that good angle. Up here is looking pretty good. This I could bring in just a little bit. Hold on Alt, fix it up a little bit. It's a little bit better. Hold on Alt, same thing there. Fix it up a little bit. I'm going to bring this one out a little bit. And bring this down a little bit. There we go. Now you can continue that with all the other graphics. Out here, what I'm going to show you is the circle tool. What I'm going to do, I want to create 3 circles here, as I can see, 2 gray and 1 orange. To create a circle, I'm going to hold on Alt and Shift. Now what that does, it creates a circle starting from the middle. Holding down Alt starts a circle from the middle. Holding down Shift keeps it a perfect circle. And I let go. Now what I can do here, with my actually black arrow, I could resize this to fit the orange area. I could squeeze it down a little bit to create an ellipse. Then what I could do with that, to duplicate it, is to click on the path, hold down Alt, and what happens, a double arrow shows up, indicating to me that it's about to be duplicated. I'm going to drag it up, and to keep it in line, I'm going to hold down also the keyboard Shift and drag it up. Holding down Shift keeps it in line, once again, to a 0, a 45, or 90 degree angle, and I'm going to let go. Once again, I can start to stretch it and make it fit properly there. And once again, I'm going to duplicate it for the bottom one. I'm going to hold down Alt and Shift and drag it down. Now, to add color, it's a very simple thing to do. We're going to click on our shape that we want to color. We're going to click on the eyedrop tool, and we're going to select the color from the graphic behind. Now, this shape has a fill, which you could see here is about roughly a gray fill. I'm going to do the same for this circle. Select the eyedrop tool, select the gray. What happens as well, as you can see what happens, the stroke disappears because I just asked for it to be filled with the eyedropper tool with just the fill. I'm going to do the same thing here. Select the orange, and there we are. But now the issue is that the 2 gray circles are on top of the orange circle, and the orange circle needs to be in front. So what I can do here, I can say Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, or Shift, Command, Close Bracket, which I will do as well. Now the circle is in front. I can readjust it. And now they are in line. If I want to line these up a little bit better, I can select all of them by holding down Shift, click on one, Shift, click on another one. I can go to my Align palette here, or my Align palette here, and click on Horizontal Align Center. Let me do that again. And hold down, actually I gotta change this to Align Selection, because I was on Align to Artboard, Align Selection. And I'm going to, once again now, Horizontal Align Center. And now it just aligned it, just fixed it up a little bit. So I want to add color once again to my stem by doing the same thing. My eyedropper tool, I'm going to click on the gray area, and now my stem is gray as well, which we can quickly see by holding down Shift and an arrow. I'm just showing you that it is colored gray, and I can do the same thing with this particular feather. Eyedropper, click on orange, and now it's orange, and the stroke has disappeared too. Now, right now it's on top of the stem. All I have to do is go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back, and it puts it behind the stem. So this is where I'm at so far. I can show you by turning off the visibility of the layer this is going to shut off the visibility of the arrow graphic beneath, and it's going to keep showing what I've worked on so far on my top layer. So right now, this is what I have so far, which is great. I'm going to continue to, or you're going to continue to do all the vectors on top of each of these graphics. On your second panel, your second artboard, I should say, you're going to create your own vector arrow. It could use elements from any one of these that you've traced. You could mix and match them, change the colors, do anything you want, or you can create your own and be creative, which will add to your creativity mark. You can add your own here. I'm going to make one really quickly and show you a couple tricks as well. First thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a stem. Now with the stem, that's all I'm doing is creating a stroke. One line, which is a stroke. I use the line tool. I held down Shift and I created that. Now what I can do, I can go to my stroke panel and I'm going to add some weight to it. Let's see, 2. 2 doesn't add too much weight, so let's add a little bit more. Maybe roughly about 7 point. Let's make it 5 point. Then I'm going to add the cap. The cap I don't want it to be a butt cap, I want it to be a round cap. And now similar to the stems above, I've created a straight stem with rounded caps. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just quickly do some interesting feathers, let's say with the circle tool. I'm going to just fill them maybe with one color, the green. Just selected that in my color, my swatches palette or my color palette. I can select a bunch of different circles. I'm just duplicating these by holding down Alt. I can change the size of them. And there we go there. Now, obviously not the best arrow, but it does show me how I've used the circle tool, used the color tool. I could change up some of these here too by just adding a little cyan, change them up slightly, add a little more magenta, changing up the color of some of these. Just quickly how to use the color slide bars, which is interesting because you're going to learn about CMYK as well down the road. Just something a little interesting, a fun little feather there. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a little trick here, is how to make a symmetrical triangle or symmetrical shape in general. Any shape that is symmetrical and could mirror itself, I'm going to show you how to do that right here. So this arrow, I'm going to trace, I'm going to start from the middle. I'm going to come down here right in the middle. I'm going to come down this way here. Click and drag. Find that area. I'm going to Alt. I'm going to bring it right about here. I'm going to bring it down here. And that is about roughly the mirror. I'm not going to finish the shape though. I'm not going to finalize it. I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to click on the direct select, or sorry, the black arrow tool. And I'm going to hold down Alt and Shift. I'm going to drag it to the left. Now what I want to do here, I'm going to flip this image, and by doing that, I can do that by clicking on the transform panel, transform, the hamburger menu. I'm going to say flip horizontal, flips it horizontally. And what I can do now, I can drag it, hold down Shift, and Illustrator is going to connect it there for me, right about there. Illustrator is, on some occasions, it will snap it for you, and others it won't. Either way, it doesn't matter. I'm going to hold on my direct select tool, the white arrow. I'm going to, right now, there's 2 points here. If I zoom in a little closer, you'll be able to see there's 2 points, 1, 2. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to tell Illustrator to join those 2. And it creates a line there for me. So now those are connected. And I need to connect these ones too. Oh, these ones are connected in a little interesting area. an interesting way. So let me see if I can join those, see what happens. So now it's joined them for me. Not as clean as I'd like, but that's okay, because what I can do here, I can add a point here by using the add point tool, the add anchor, and I can delete these two here, this one and this one. Now I have one down there. So now I have one complete path, which I duplicated one side to create the other, and now I have a complete arrow there that is symmetrical. I'm going to copy that, Command C. I'm going to bring it down here by pressing Command V, and now I have an arrow there. I could just place right on top of there. I could select both of those and line them up by pressing the Align Center, and now they are aligned. Now I could do some fun things with this one to change it up a little bit. Change the color to anything I want. Go to my swatches, maybe find an interesting color Illustrator's already given to me. I can maybe duplicate it, enlarge it, drag it back, set it backwards, make it a little bit darker. And now I've created kind of a bit of a interesting thing here. Just something fun. You can do whatever you want with yours. Add some interesting creativity here, as these ones all have something fun kind of happening in the middle of them or close to the top. And what I'm going to do really quickly, I'm going to show you how to create a pattern. What I want to do with this, because there's so many elements that are part of this arrow, and what you could do with these ones too, once you've selected them, once you've traced them, is that you can select all of them by clicking and dragging the black arrow tool over top of all of them, and Command G, or Object Group, Command G. It groups them all and creates one element. So once I click on it once, they're unified. If I ungroup them, which is also Shift Command G, ungroup, now they're back. I could select each thing individually. But once again, I want to group them because we're going to make a pattern here. Very important when you're scaling effects, what you need to make sure, because Illustrator by default does not do this for you. Click on Illustrator CC, Preferences, and go to General, and make sure that your Scale, Strokes, and Effects is selected. I have already done this where Illustrator did not do this for me. So now what happens when I scale these down, I'm going to Alt and drag this. I'm going to Shift and scale it down. What happens now when I scale it down is that Illustrator scales down the effects, which I don't have any effects on yet, but it scales on the strokes as well. And this, if you remember, this line was a stroke, but it scaled it down properly. If you don't have that selected, your stroke will stay very large, and it'll make the image incorrect the way you wanted it. Right now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a simple pattern. I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to create a simple pattern here. I'm just going to duplicate that. I'm going to rotate it by coming close to the corner here. My arrow turns into a rotate tool. I'm going to hold down Shift, rotate it this way. I'm going to select both of these, hold down Alt and Shift to keep them in line. I'm going to duplicate those. I'm going to do the same thing by holding down all of them. Hold down Alt, Shift, like that. And do the same and drag them down by holding down Alt and Shift. So here I have an interesting pattern I've already created. To create this pattern and keep it a pattern, that's all I have to do is have my swatches panel open and drag what I've selected to my swatches panel. And now what Illustrator did, it created a little icon here for my panel, for my pattern, I mean. What I can do is move this over, and with my pattern selected, the one I just made, I can select the rectangle tool. Because this is a square, I'm going to click here and hold down Shift, which holding down Shift makes it a perfect square. I'm going to drag the area, which is a 4x4, I'm going to let go. And what Illustrator has done is that it's created the pattern for me inside that. Now I could do the same thing. I could do it with a circle. hold down shift, click and drag. And now it's created the pattern in a circle. But for the assignment, I just want you to create that rectangle tool, the square, hold down shift, click and drag, and the pattern's inside there. In the future, what you can do, you can click here, you can click on the pattern options, and this shows up. What I can do here is on the hamburger menu, I can say edit the pattern. And in the edit pattern, I can do a lot of things here. I can change the way it's set up in terms of the grid. I can change the width and height of it. I can change how many are up. If it's just 3 by 3 patterns, 1 by 1, a lot of different ways you could do it. A lot of different things that you can change with the patterns, and they can come in very handy in terms of packaging and different things like this. Right now, I'm going to say 1/1. And I'm happy with that. Click back, and that's what I have. So your final assignment will have all the arrows traced. And what I'm going to do to mark it, I will go in and take a quick look. But what I'll do is I'm just going to select this off and see how close you are to the actual picture with your vectors. This will give me a good indication of how close you are. Plus, I'm going to zoom in and take a quick peek, make sure you understand how the pen tool works and how close you came to each of the edges. Once again, every arrow needs to be traced. Every part of the arrow needs to be traced. I want to see everything. This will give you a very good sense of the pen tool, the shape tool, and your control and your mastery of the software, which is one of the parts of the rubric. In this second, I'm going to see 2 arrows, 2 interesting creative arrows. Anything you want to do, you can use elements from these arrows. You could create your own elements, as I have done here. Make them really fun, interesting, any way you want, any colors you want to use. Then in here, you're going to show a pattern, a very simple pattern, but I just need to see something. And that is the end of the assignment. You're going to hand in the AI file. So always be sure to Command S or File Save as often as possible. And you're going to hand in the assignment at the beginning of class. We're going to go through that together. But this just gives you a quick rundown of how the pen tool works, how I want everything set up, and that is that. Thank you.